That, in my opinion, is how you do a season finale, series finale, whatever you want to call it. We assume we're going to get a fifth season of Fargo, but let's say we don't. You know, season 4 of Fargo's ending with episode 11. I loved it. I think, and we're going to go into all the details as far as why I loved it. This is what I'm talking about. Sometimes I complain or we complain about different shows endings because we don't feel resolution to certain plot points. To me, even if you didn't like certain things or certain things were sad, it's very, it's a Cohen style story, so it's gonna be. But I felt resolution. I felt closure at the end of this episode. What'd you guys think?
I felt the very similarly. They, you know, each character had their story. Each character's story ended, and then by the end of it, Ethelrita having her little line of dialogue where and we've heard it in other things where it's history is written by the victors. It's she's basically saying that history is this is her history, this is her story, as she recalls it. So it was, when they say based off of true events and stuff, which we all know is just the kind of a throwback to the movie, but it's very, I just enjoyed how they wrapped it up, all the characters. And then I am curious, like we've talked about beforehand, what season 5, which decade it's going to take place in, and how they're going to maybe incorporate some of these characters, either older versions or younger versions of some of them.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like it was, like some endings don't truly feel conclusive. This one definitely did. I can't say that I liked everything that. Well, I did love it as a whole. And the things that I didn't like, I saw coming. I was kind of like, okay, that tracks. It makes sense that would happen. And the only thing I can say I didn't like was Loy's end. But I think we all saw that happening, and we said it in the previous episode, I believe, that we didn't see either Loy or Josto getting out of this, and this is one of the outcomes we saw for Loy. And just for, like Spencer said, for every character, things felt wrapped up, they felt complete, and I think we got just enough time with everyone to just to properly wrap things up.
Yeah, and we're going to jump into all those details as far as what we liked, loved, didn't like. This is Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and yeah, we're discussing Fargo season 4, episode 11, the finale. If you've not hit the sub button, please do so. Hit that bell. We have a lot of content coming to the channel. We've already mapped out the next several months of content, so we're going to keep trucking along. Probably 3 to 5 videos per week. At certain points, so definitely hit that sub button, hit the upvote. That definitely helps out the channel. Leaving a comment also helps out the channel. We appreciate your input, and we're gonna go ahead and get into the opening. I want to talk about the montage of those who have died throughout the season, and then those who were still alive, sort of where they were headed. We had, like, I believe it was Johnny Cash playing. I thought it was a great way to open the episode. The episode was only 39 minutes, actually about 36-ish if you cut out the ending credits. I think one of the shortest, if not the shortest episodes of the season, and yet it was very dense, and it told its story, and I never felt like it necessarily needed to be longer. I thought it did what it needed to do, and that montage was a great way to sort of open things and remind us of what we had seen and setting up, obviously, the finale. How would you guys think of the opening?
Well, we're trying to save some money, so we went back to the commercial version of Hulu, and there was a point in time where I was like, "Holy shit, we just saw a commercial," because they were trying to the time with commercials, and I was like, "Damn, we literally just had one like 3 seconds ago." But I thought the song choice was great. Just that kind of melancholy feeling, and then how they showed every person. It showed them as the character they were. It didn't show them how they died. It showed them kind of how they were. Because even Calmeda, sitting up there trying to threaten somebody, um,
Great point.
Rabbi,
Yeah, great point. It's
like
showing them who they were this season. Yeah.
yeah, and I really enjoyed that kind of throwback to all those characters.
Yeah, yeah, the same, and also had the same experiences as Spencer with the commercials. They definitely filled the rest of that hour. Even though it was a little shorter, you got a lot more commercials. But as far as the intro and the setup for this episode, it was really good. And like Spencer said, it was very cool that they showed the characters as they lived, and it was a neat little montage to just sort of remind you of all the lives and sacrifice that got you to this point in the series. And and even though it was 39 minutes, it felt very complete.
Larry,
Yeah.
you. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the way the beginning happened, it to me didn't take away from their death scenes. Because if they would have basically relived those kind of moments where those characters died, to me it would have just it would have lessened the importance in the previous episodes in which it happened. Because I didn't see Dr. Senator dying. Like I didn't see that coming. I didn't see a tornado coming because I didn't see the preview for the next week. So I had no idea that there was going to be a tornado. I didn't know it was going to be black and white. So like when that happened, I had no idea that was coming. So yeah, I believe if they would have showed how each character died in that montage at the beginning, it would have lessened the importance of their passing in the episodes. But the way they did it was almost like an homage to those characters, and I really like that.
Larry, Spencer and I have only watched season 4. You've watched season 1, and you said you're halfway through season 2. I'm just curious, real quick, stylistically, is it similar? Do they do the little montages or the different um, musical choices? Like, is the style the same in those seasons? I know the audience probably knows the answer to this, obviously, but I
Well,
don't. I'm just curious.
well, yeah. Given that each one takes place in a different era, the music's a bit different. Of course, the style seems very similar. There's definitely a lot of scenographic things that are similar, but for the most part, yeah, it's got the same feel, but each season has kind of a different vibe to it, and the stakes this season, seemed bigger than they did in season 1. And season 2, I guess it may be the same. I'm about halfway through season 2, so I can't really tell at this point, but the scale seems different for each one also. And it's a good change of pace, I think, for each one, but yet it's still as engrossing, and it's just as weird also in the ways that it's weird. And I will say, in past seasons, like whatever the supernatural thing that you tend to see is is vastly different than it was this one. Like season 1, it was things could be explained. They were odd but explainable. This one is like, okay, how do you explain what seems to be an actual ghost in the series? And what we're seeing uh, early on in season 2, which I'll just go ahead and say, because you're going to see it like first episode. It appears to be like aliens. Uh, yeah, it definitely runs the gamut there. But there's a similar feel across each one, and of course there's strings that tie them together, and that's been very interesting going at it and watching it this way. And I kind of feel, and I think you said someone commented on this as well, that a good way to watch this show might be in chronological order.
I
Just kind of.
think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, somebody commented on a couple videos back. I can't remember the commenter's name, but they said, yeah, they thought chronological might be a good choice, starting with 2, and then what is it? The movie 1, 3, 4, obviously at the beginning, but we already watched that. But yeah, I might do that. I know you were watching it in order of release, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think I might do it that way.
Well, and I'll say this much too. It definitely adds a little context to some things, and well, I think I have a little more appreciation for one character going in. Well, I think you would either way because he's such an odd character, and I'll just go ahead and say it because most of the audience knows Satchel or Mike Mulligan. He's just such a weird guy in season two. He's my favorite character. I think he makes the show at this point. I'm still roughly halfway, but seeing four and then two, you could definitely see how Satchel would become that guy. Some of the like, and I kind of got to give credit to the child actor that plays him in season four too, because I feel like he has like he speaks in a similar way, and he also has like sort of a similar style about him in a way.
I thought one of the greatest moments of this, not just episode but season, was Loy Cannon coming home and finding Satchel in his bed. The way it was shot, the musical choice, every aspect of it. To me, it choked me up a little bit. I thought it was very well done, very emotional. I thought it was a beautiful moment of the season, and the weight of it required you to have seen, every episode prior to it. That was another thing I loved about this episode. All the weight of the things that occur are there because of you having viewed the entirety of the season. That's, like I said, I love I thought this was a solid ending. How did you also feel about the Satchel's return? We kept debating whether or not he would actually return or just be wandering that road until season two. But yeah, what did you guys think of that particular scene?
I thought that's when Loy was gonna die. I thought he was gonna. I didn't think it was Satchel at the house. I figured it was gonna be Zelmar. But it being Satchel, I thought that was a beautiful moment. You had his siblings come in, and the mom like losing it and it just embracing him. I thought it was one of those things where just by what you guys commented, uh, knowing Mike Mulligan and how big of a badass and crazy he was, I wasn't quite sure how he was going to get to that point. And then, seeing his mom embrace him and stuff, I'm like, well, I still don't get it. And then, by the end, I finally understood. But
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's the sort of thing where, but in fact, I agree that scene was also very good because I kind of lost myself in that moment. Where they're all there, and I thought, oh, okay, so I guess didn't see that coming. They're going to get a happy ending, and then I kind of remembered what show I was watching. As
Yeah.
he's staring back through the window for too long, I was like, this scene's kind of lingering, and it's like, oh, right, Zelmar, oh crap, and then we have the scene that we have.
Well, let's go into that. So it's sort of a couple scenes that all run together. It's sort of the tragedy of canon. We have him. And we'll get into Josto and all that in a minute, which was interesting. But Cannon, has dealt with all of his problems. He took out Happy and his crew. We get a legitimately Godfather ending. Through that scene. It was brilliant. He had all of his assassins, placed perfectly and all doing what they needed to do. And Loy was sort of on top of the world for a minute there. And then his son's alive. That's another, great thing. He gives the kid, the Fada kid back. He does a really good thing. So Loy is doing great. And then he has this meeting with
Zero.
Hmm?
I think his name's Zero.
Zero. Okay.
Yep, Zero.
So then he has this meeting with Ebal. Who's now running the family, because like I said, we'll get to Josto in a minute, but he's running things, and he's backed completely by New York and basically the organization, we'll call it that. And he basically tells Loy, you look, you're just a piece of this puzzle. You're not a main player. And it's a frustrating scene, and you see all the different. Chris Rock does a great job. You see all the emotions on his face, and then finally, by the end of the conversation, he realizes that as much as it sucks, it's true. He really doesn't have anything he can do, and then that leads to him going to his home. A beautiful moment of him seeing his family, and then he's murdered, brutally murdered. Not quickly. Everyone else gets a quick death. He did not get a quick death. He got a really brutal stabbed to death, and it was revenge for the death of Swanee. You know, Etheridda's Zelmare killed him and gets away with it. I know I just went through a whole bunch of scenes, but like I said, it's the tragedy of Loy Cannon. So, guys, the way that story is told, I know you, Larry, you had said you had a few issues with it. I definitely want to hear that. What do you guys think about the tragedy of Loy Cannon?
Well, yeah, I'll start by addressing that. You know, like not so much an issue, but you know, it's just like, the way I put it when I told you is like my least favorite character on the show killed one of my favorite characters. Like, but it's something that was expected to happen to the point that we expected it to happen. You know, it made logical sense. You know, so I'm not too mad at it. It's just like you hate to see it happen, especially after it seems like okay, you got this happy ending. You know, you have that point where, like you said, Ebal gives Lloyd that speech, which makes a lot of sense and kind of shows that really the fix was in from the beginning. And Lloyd goes home, just kind of, beat to a degree, but realizing it's like, well, he's got half his business still. And and he sees his family and, finds his son and everything. And he has that moment where he's looking in the window and he sees, seemingly for once that he has everything that you could ask for in life. So what more could you want? Like, and that's when she gets him. So that like it's at the one point in his life that he realizes that he has everything. Not a lot of gripes with it. It's just like I said, it's my least favorite character killing my favorite character, but the way it was done in this show absolutely makes sense. It's just like I just didn't like Zelmar's character at all.
It was a gut punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
she'd proven that, there was a second I got afraid she was going to kill more than just him. What did
yeah.
you get? Because she had proven that she had no issues. She even gave her a little speech about outlaws. She had no problem killing civilians, just innocent people that had nothing to do with the crime world. But go ahead, Spencer.
No, I was just gonna, chime in on the roller coaster of the Cannon family throughout that last episode was all over the place, but it was still well done. It didn't feel um, too much. It didn't feel unrealistic. It felt, you know, similar to other mob style movies that I've seen where they go through that roller coaster. They kind of, everything goes right for them after everything went wrong for them, and then they finally get their footing, and then the rug gets pulled out from under them. So he was super upset about only getting half, and I wonder because I couldn't read the list obviously because it just showed him looking at it, but would he have gotten all those slaughterhouses from Happy's family? Because he took out Happy's family. He took out Happy and what was it, Leon?
I'm not sure.
You know,
That's a good
So
question.
so if he would have taken over all of those, all the work that he would have done to basically do that would have also been taken from him. So that you talk about gut punch when he basically losed everything, all the things he worked for, and then to just get a portion of it would be hard. But throughout the little ride home and everything, he started to make peace with it. He was just like, well, fuck it. I still got a lot. I still have, my family. I still have all these things. And then for the ending to happen the way it did, him finally being at peace and then having that taken away from him for a decision he made earlier in the season was like hard to see, but it made sense. So I wasn't like frustrated. It was still sad, but it wasn't uh, unnerving or it wasn't a gripe that I had because it was well done and it tied up a story. Still sad, but it wasn't.
yeah.
You didn't feel cheated, basically.
Yeah,
You felt like the story made sense, and
yeah,
And I think what Brian said before we started recording this, the fact that it was the one mistake that he didn't make. He wasn't trying to to like screw them over or anything. It's just the marshal didn't really leave him with much of a choice. You know, he was talking about bringing down the law on their entire operations. You know, he wasn't trying to to get one over on Ethelrita's aunt. You know, it was, and this really wasn't related to like his mob. For the most part, wasn't related to his like mob related business. This wasn't his conflict with the Italians that killed him. Uh, this was like this was a way that he slighted someone and didn't truly intend to slight them, to be honest, and it got him killed. And like you said, it's Zelmar. So the assumption was, like Spencer said, I was worried that he was going to go after, she was going to go after her family as well. Well, mostly because of what was the marshal character's name again?
Death.
Deafy,
Definitely,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, because what Deafy said when he was talking to Ethelrita, when he was listing off her crimes, and like, didn't they like beat a pregnant woman to death or something?
I can't remember the details. It was something horrific, but then even if you question what he was saying later in the episode when they're at the train station
And
and
there's
she all the dead people, not, just cops. I mean, they killed a lot of people in the train station. To me, that was the scene showing, yeah, she has no issues with taking lives.
not only that, but she was enjoying it. You know, they got like a smile crept on both their faces before it started. You know, that's the type of life they want. And this is the type of things that they enjoy doing. You know, as people, she's not a good person. So I did think the whole family was in danger. So I guess it is a small miracle that she only killed Bloy.
Yeah. Yeah, for a moment I got nervous, but then she dropped the knife, and it was, she even said, this was for, Swanee, and it was sort of that revenge moment. And like I said, I sort of called it a week or two ago. I felt it made the fact that she escaped to me was the moment I just was like, damn it. Because I knew there would be one person and one person only she would blame. And the biggest mistake Cannon made was having Otis in the room when he handed her the ticket, the
Yeah,
train ticket. That's what screwed him, because she was able to associate Otis as the hitman, and as far as she knew, it was always part of the plan to take her out. So she didn't know, but yeah, that was that. Like, damn it.
I'd have to say that's the most interesting thing about her character. As poor as her decision making is, she's not dumb. They didn't make her dumb by any means. She really pieces things together. Like when she tied the pie to Nurse Mayweather. I said Mayweather again. Nurse Mayflower, and then she tied just by Otis being in the room. She's like, oh, okay, well clearly this is related to Cannon somehow. How else would they have found me? She's got her wits about her.
Josto, um, Josto, he has a few moments up front where he basically just snaps, and he takes out the two people he despises the most. That being was supposed to be his father-in-law, and then Dr. Harvard. He just simply captures them, beats them, and then shoots them. But so he gets his little revenge. Specifically, like I said, the father-in-law. I mean, he didn't, as far as I could tell, do anything that warranted being killed. Dr. Harvard, I get. He did screw him over in a big way at the very beginning of the series with his father. But after that, basically, Ebal says, "Look, Josto. As far as we could tell, and Larry, you called it, Ethelrita's plan. You were in." Bed literally with Mayflower, and she killed your father so you could have power. Here's the ring. She's admitting to everything. You got to go. And that, I mean, it's laid out pretty simply. We have the car ride to their executions, and then we have the actual execution, which has humor in it, in that Josto's trying to talk his way out of it, which was sort of funny. All the guys thought it was funny, but specifically the punchline, the dark humor punchline is, kill him first. I want to watch. And I laughed out loud at that. And that's exactly what happens. She's very much in that scene. Orietta Mayflower is okay with that, what's taking place. She seems to be at peace with it in a weird way. If I had any complaints about the episode at all, it would be um, knowing that it felt like there was a lot more on the table as far as that character and her past. Now, we don't need her to be alive for that story to be told. You could have a future season where maybe somebody she knew is alive and they talk about her, or even if it's in the past, a history of her. I am more curious about her past. We had all those theories about her being in the war and all that stuff, and I feel like that's on the table. We're not going to get those answers. If we don't get those answers, I'm fine with it. I thought that the character's arc in the season was decent, but I do feel like there's a lot there that we don't have an answer to, and that bothers me a little bit. But it's a minor gripe. What do you guys think about Josto's fate and Orietta Mayflower's as a character and her fate?
Well, I thought it was cool that when they were having it, it was kind of like the foreshadowing how the two families would always meet and they would sit there and then they'd have everybody else standing up behind them. When Josto came out and he saw Ebal sitting there, he knew something was up. But I loved when they were talking to Mayflower, talking to Orietta, and she was like, "Yeah, you told me to take care of them," and I just couldn't stop laughing because all I could think of was Rafi in the league. Like, it's like, you said to take care of it. He's like, you set it on fire. He's like, that's what take care of it means. So,
Yeah, he just burns everything. Yeah.
so like when she said that, I couldn't stop laughing. But it is everything. Now, Orietta was a crazy person, so she didn't really need much of a push in the right direction to kill somebody. But everything Josta was saying to her was almost like code. Now, they showed that it wasn't intentional. Josta's just dumb, but it it was so well played that he's just like, oh shit, I did say all those things. And like you said, the car ride where she's beating the shit out of him and they're fighting back and forth, and the guy just turns around with the gun and was just like, hey. And then her putting on makeup before she dies was glorious. But Josto's ending storyline was very, not just Coen Brothers, but we talked about like Goodfellas and The Godfather. Like every one of those things kind of played into his death, and I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to mention about that is I feel like we started to see a side of Ebal that we didn't really see in the series. Where we got to see sort of his hunger for power, because he seemed to have enjoyed the position that he was in now. When he had enough evidence to see that it seems like Josto was playing to his own interest and against their organization. Ebal seemed way too comfortable with his new position. Like almost like it played into his hands. I know he didn't set it up, but he was definitely good with the direction things were going. As he said before, I guess he just started to feel like we saw him look uncomfortable throughout throughout the series as Josto makes a decision or Giatano does something, and I guess he expressed it sort of towards the end when before they dragged off Josto. When he was saying the old ways they don't work. This whole family thing is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Josto's arc I thought was very complete. He was funny. To me, still the craziest moment in the entire season will definitely an episode ago when his brother died. I did not see that shit coming. I can say the falling trip, blowing brains out.
Yeah, that was an unexpected moment.
That was the most shocking thing of the probably the entire season. I read an interview. It's really good. There's a couple out. There's more than one. Noah Hawley, the creator and head writer of this series, and he talks about how Orietta is a character. She's evil, you know, and he has representations of sort of pure evil in almost every season. Apparently, Larry, you could speak to that better than I because you've seen a couple seasons.
Oh
But
yeah.
that he likes to have that kind of representation in this in the series, and she was that. Um, would you agree that yeah, she's definitely representation of evil? Is the other seasons have similar just evil characters?
Well, yeah, and I'll say, well, oh, they definitely do. They definitely do. That's part of the reason why when I finished season one, I was telling you you have to watch that because the villain in season one is kind of and it's with these type of things you usually have a villain, but this guy is a villain. Uh, it's the type of villain that you like to follow in these types of shows. Like, but yeah, there's definitely representations of pure evil. And as far as Orietta and seeing more of her or more of her past, there was a hint at in my opinion, where they may go if you do with that. If you do see more of her, like you may not, maybe you won't see her, or maybe you'll see her much younger, but you'll see her mother as well because there was that like that's the little bit of Orietta's past that you did get information about, and you only got like a quick blurb when she was talking to Josto. The fact that she hinted that her mother was the same type of person that she is to some degree.
Yeah, yeah. Good point. Really good point. Um, Ethelrita is who she bookends the series this season. We get her at the beginning of the first episode, and she closes out the final episode. I still stand by what I said last week. I really wish, especially in that episode like 7, 8, 9, 10, that we had a little bit more of her. I really felt that she sort of got lost in the shuffle for a handful of episodes, and she was so strong up front, and even in the closing in episodes 10 and 11. But I wish we had gotten a little bit more of her character. Hopefully, she'll pop in a future season. That would be great. What did you guys think of her total story arc? She saved her family's business, and yeah, she's um, yeah, solid character. But I wish there was a little bit more.
I'm curious to see if she comes back as a lawyer, a public defender, or something, because the way that they kind of showed her negotiating with Loy felt very lawyer-ish, and how she kind of went about it. She's obviously super smart. She speaks multiple languages, so it's one of those things where I would like to see her again in a future season, just to see where all of this has taken her.
Yeah,
Because
agreed.
I thought how you had her at the beginning started, and then at the end, like I said earlier, mentioned that it's history is told by the people who tell the stories, like, and that's how you get history. So the history of all of this was told by her, and I'm curious to see if we get more of her later on.
Well, yeah, and that would that's definitely something that I'd like to see too, because like you said, there's a lot of layers to this character, and we of course didn't 100% explore who she is, and I can't imagine uh, I can't imagine that there's not a story that you could weave around there, around this, and chances are it'll probably have more to do with like, or given that it's Fargo and it's typically about crime, it'll probably be due to either, like you said, her job as a lawyer, or it could even be she's involved in the plot of another season because of more of her dad's, just kind of gullible nature, you know, because as we've seen in this season, he doesn't have a lot of. Well, yeah, I think I just said it best when I said it when I called him gullible.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets involved in some pyramid scheme, and she's got to get the business back again, or some bullshit.
Right.
But
At
I
this
heard
point, if I was the
Herbalife is
parents,
the way to go.
I would just give her the business because her abilities to manage it are definitely superior to her parents.
Well, yeah, because that's the problem. They seem to have, more than enough business and everything to stay open. They just didn't seem to know how to manage things. So yeah, honestly, they should at least, yeah, they should let her handle the books at least, if anything.
Yeah. Do
That'd
you
be funny
think?
if she was like 40.
Well, we're talking about. I want to ask a question here.
Mhm.
We're talking about a lot of the younger characters on the show, because and like I said, I'm not past all the past seasons of Fargo, so maybe he is. But do you all think that that Zero could be involved in any way in these seasons? Because he also learned a lot from Loy.
He he did. You're 100% right, and he's a Fada,
Yeah,
and so he's of that bloodline. That's a great point. He is a character that potentially everyone else is gone. So he, think about it, they took out everyone. So he would definitely, I think, have a future in their organization. I don't know. Yeah, that's a
I
great.
need
I didn't even think about him. Good point.
I need to figure out which decades they haven't done yet because they did 70s already, so Ethelrita wasn't in that season. But if they haven't done 80s yet, she would be in her early 40s, and Zero would be what, late 30s. So that you could pick up with those characters at that point and still have a pretty decent storyline with them.
right. Yeah, and it's the sort of thing that I imagine, Mike Mulligan, if anything, part of why they're good with the position that he has and everything is due to his father's previous standing with them, before his passing, and also because of the way Zero was treated, and there may be a mutual respect between him and Zero, if anything, which is why they still in season 2 have a working relationship. Well, at least the reason he has a working relationship with what becomes Ebal's organization, or so I'm assuming.
I think it's the New Kansas City Mafia or something along those lines. Um, yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that character. That's a he very much flew under the radar. His highlight was definitely get the boy a piece of cake. That's still one of the best lines um, of the season. But yeah, definitely. That was a great scene. Uh, but yeah, that's all the main characters' endings. Is there anything else I want to talk about regarding the finale?
I am kind of curious though with Zero, only because if they killed Josto, Gaetano died, Donatello fought, like that whole family
And
basically got,
other
yeah, everyone died except for him. So why would Ebal keep him around? I wouldn't. I mean, not to be dark, but this kid saw some shit. He realizes once he gets older, if he realized that this group of people basically took his whole family out, why would he not plot revenge or try to get back at them?
Zero always seemed like a weird kid. For one, it's the sort of thing where it's hard to say whether he would, because he always seemed like no matter what situation they were in, he seemed comfortable. So we never really got. I guess that's the one character whose head we never really got inside in this season.
Yeah, and I don't think that Zero would do something like that, but I'm just thinking from a mafia leader's perspective, trying to keep themselves safe. That seems like a wild card that I don't know that E-Ball or anybody else would try and risk. So I don't know. I really am curious about Zero's fate now.
Well, and that may be the thing too, because so I'm guessing, potentially due to loyalties and the way their mob works, and the fact that, well, I imagine there is no family left for Zero other than the mafia itself. So maybe E-Ball took custody of him afterwards. It's hard to say. But I guess that's up to, like, if we're gonna find that out, I guess it'll be in another season of Fargo.
Yeah, definitely. If conventions ever come back, if Noah Hawley's at one, we can ask him. Um, yeah, that's a great question. I didn't even write him in my notes outside of Lloyd giving him back. Because yeah, like I said, he flew under the radar for pretty much for the whole season. There was the one moment where it hinted that Cannon considered killing him, but even I didn't think that was going to happen, and of course it didn't. Um, but yeah, he's definitely a character that could have a major impact on on this universe if in the future, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, anything else regarding the finale of season 4 of Fargo?
Well,
Uh, not for me. Unless Larry jars something. Go ahead, Larry.
well, all I'm gonna say, all I've got to say about this is, comprehensively as a whole, this season was so good that it made me start to watch two other seasons of a show I'd never seen before. That I really don't even have time to watch. With well, just life right now and the way it is. But anytime I've got free time and nothing else to do, like I've started watching episodes of Fargo, and I think I've recommended every season I've seen so far. Season 1, season 2, still haven't gotten to 3 yet. I guess I'll check that out last, but
And you got to watch the movie.
and I got to watch the movie. Yeah.
That I have seen.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I'm going to be starting. I don't know if it's going to be with season 1 or 2 yet. I'm leaning towards 2. But I will be starting probably this week, and yeah, burning through Fargo. So looking forward to that. That is awesome. Having enjoyed this season, knowing there's a bunch more that I hadn't seen yet, and I get to experience it. So that is exciting.
Well, if I got the Rona, I might actually sit down and watch it.
Yeah, Spencer is definitely sick. Not sure what, but we'll know soon. Hopefully you feel better. Yeah. So if he sounded a little stuffy throughout this review, that is why he is under the weather. So yeah, what do we got going on? Your Honor starts Sunday. That's going to be our next Sunday night show. It airs on. It's a Showtime series starring Bryan Cranston. Looks amazing. If you haven't seen the trailers, go check those out. If you're into Fargo, I think you'd probably be into that series. Looks really cool. We're going to be covering it every Sunday night. I believe it's 10 episodes, so it'll be 10 weeks. I think they're taking a week off, so it'll be 11 weeks. And yeah, check out the channel. Like I said, hit the sub button, all that good stuff. We appreciate you listening, and we will see you next time.
Oh, since we're not, I dropped my phone. We're not doing a review for it, but I started watching that flight attendant show, and I would suggest anybody who's likes weird shit to watch it because it's crazy.
Yeah, we wanted to do that one, but they kind of shotgun episodes out.
Yeah,
all at once.
Yeah, the a lot of the decisions, the decisions as far as what we cover, it has to do with the release schedules. If they're like shotgun it out is a great description. The way that release schedule is for that show, it makes it way more work for us, and it's just not worth it, to be honest. But it doesn't mean we're not going to watch. There's a lot of shows we watch that we don't cover on here, but. Yeah, so Spencer's recommending that. I think I might check it out. It's how many episodes are up right now?
3.
3. Okay.
I watched the first 2.
So, yeah, Spencer's recommending that was HBO Max, correct?
Yeah, it's legit. If you look at who created it, like the person doesn't have a lot of credits to their name. They wrote on a couple other things, but the directors, it's from the first 2 episodes. Each episode's like different. It's weird. Like the first episode is like comical but dark, and then a couple of the episodes are directed by somebody who had their hand in like Dexter, but a couple of the episodes are directed by people who did like Supernatural and stuff like that. So some of it's funny, some of it's really dark. It's all over the place, but it's still very well done, and it's like We talk about murder mystery. It legit is a murder mystery. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was my biggest. Yet again, going with the scheduling, that was my biggest gripe. Is it seemed perfect for what we do and what we enjoy, but by dropping multiple episodes a week, you erase some of the well, you erase a lot of the excitement and the build of the ending of each episode because you resolve it or you solve it in the next episode. And so structurally, Raised by Wolves was a difficult show to review because of that. Because they would drop like 2 and 3 episodes a week, and trying to structure a review around that was hell because so much happened in that show. Love that show, but yeah, it was a pain in the ass. I don't know. Real quick, we're gone long. If we're done with the review, but we're going to talk a few more minutes here because I do have a thought, and if you're listening and you want to comment, please do so. The structure, HBO Max, it's something they're doing, and it's they for whatever reason have decided they have these shows that have up to 8 to 10 episodes, and yet they decide to burn through them all in like 3 to 4 weeks. And I really don't understand the logic behind that. Now maybe I'm off on this, and maybe there is some logic to it, but for me, you want to sort of stretch out the conversation, and this flight attendant's a great example. It's a murder mystery. So, each episode, I'm sure, Spencer, you could speak to this, ends in a way that's sort of like, oh shit, what's going to happen next week? Well, when you drop 3 episodes, I already know the answer to, 2 of those. And so why burn through it so quick? I don't know. Do you like this? Or, I mean, we talked about it, I think, back during Raised by Wolves, but yeah, what is your thoughts on that release schedule?
Do you remember the movie The Net with Sandra Bullock?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
That's kind of what this movie or this show feels like. Like, it's really crazy. Some shit happens at the beginning, but it goes way deeper than that. Like kind of Jason Bourne-ish type stuff. It's like really nuts. But I think what they're trying to do is just put out more content, but they've also realized that dropping everything at once doesn't benefit their brand. Because and we've talked about it, and Stranger Things and everything else. Like, they'll drop it all. You'll basically watch your series on Netflix, and then you'll be like, all right, well, I'm done watching this series. Let me go see what other streaming services have something. But if you do it to where they drop a couple episodes a week, I think what they're trying to do is get you engaged in their content multiple times, but they don't have I think they have too much content coming out to where they can't basically do 1 episode a week per content thing because it's so much. So I think they kind of stagger it to where they're trying to get you to come back multiple times, but also release all their shit. So I don't hate it, but it does make it very difficult to do. Like, we wanted to review it, but once we saw that's what they were doing, it makes it very difficult to do that.
I think I see what you're saying too, that they're also trying to kind of appeal to people's want to binge a show, but yet still keep it around enough to market it to some degree.
Yeah, I think it's like a middle ground that they're trying to test out.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
That does make sense. But HBO Max has like the lowest subscription rate of any of the major streaming services. So HBO, if you're listening, that's a bad model. Change it. I watched the whole thing on HBO Max. They're in a weird spot because on the one hand they're pushing HBO Max, but on the other hand, HBO is a major cable series, so a lot of people have the cable channel and don't necessarily watch HBO Max. So they're trying to ride both, and they're in a weird spot. Their subscribers are not as high as Disney Plus. Disney Plus exploded on the scene, which is mind blowing because they have like no not much new content outside of the Mandalorian. But yeah, I personally don't like this model, but what do I know? Any other thoughts before we wrap this up?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we'll see y'all next time, and thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.